Family vlogging has been a bigger topic of discussion over these last few years, especially with some of the more notorious cases like Daddy05 and the conviction of Ruby Frankie last year. I think people are starting to see the darker side of this very popular genre. One thing I haven't seen much on, though, is a discussion on family vlogging within the homesteading niche. A lot of us get into this lifestyle because we want to spend more time with our children and because we want to teach them important things like working hard and growing your own food. And children are part of the home, of course. So it is natural that children are part of this type of content. But as parents and as content creators, I really think we should be conscious and intentional about what we show about our children and how they are part of our content. This video specifically is focused on Justin Rhodes. He's a very big channel within the homesteading niche. And I personally believe that he has a very big problem with oversharing, specifically about his children. To be clear though, I'm not here to call anyone a bad parent. I have not been in their home. I don't know them personally. And I usually try to assume that people are doing what's best for their children or what they believe is best for their children. What I do want to do though with this video is add to a discussion on what's appropriate and more importantly, what's not appropriate to share on the internet about your children. I'm by no means saying that I am perfect and that I've always been perfect, but I do really believe that once you know better, you can do better. To start, I think it's good to have a little bit of a definition on what is family vlogging. When it comes to family vlogging, I think there really are two sides of the spectrum. On one side of the spectrum, you have the real family vlogs. They are focused on the family at all times. The kids are a major part of the vlog, and without the kids, the vlog wouldn't be the same. And more importantly, the vlogs wouldn't get as many views if the kids weren't in those vlogs. Sometimes it's the parents who narrate the videos, but a lot of the time it's also the children who do that work, and the children are really the main characters of the show. On the other hand, over the last few years, we've seen a growing number of parents who have decided to not ever show their children online after they have learned that the internet really is not a safe place for children. They will still post pictures on Instagram, and sometimes the children might be in the picture, but they either only show the back of their head or they will blur their face. And sometimes people choose to even keep their children out of the frame completely. The major reasons for parents deciding this is really the safety of the children and the fact that children cannot consent to being on the internet in any capacity. Many of us, though, fall somewhere in the middle. We vlogged our life for a few years, and I never really saw a big issue with the children being in the videos. But from the get-go, I did decide that I would never share any private information about them, like any medical issues. I will never show my children having a tantrum in the videos. Things that are just deeply personal to my kids will never make it into a video. And I just try to be really conscious of not making them the main characters of a video. And at the same time, I never went out of my way to keep them out of the frame. Now that they're getting older, though, and I have learned more about what goes on the internet and how dark some of the viewers can be, I'm really leaning more towards keeping my children out of the frame completely, also because they're getting older and they have their own life now. And this is also very much easier for me to do because they're both in school. They're not babies anymore. So that really helps with the content creation on that side. This whole sharing your life online is pretty new in the scheme of things. So I do think it's really important to keep informed, to stay informed and to understand what's going on, even things that might not come up in your mind per se. So I really think it's important to keep on learning, and especially keeping the safety and privacy of your children front and center when you're creating content, especially about your life. I'm not saying other people should make the same decision, but I definitely think there are lines that can be crossed. Justin Rhodes, the subject of today's video, is definitely on the family vlogging side of things. He posts videos 6 days a week, which is mind-blowing to begin with. And while his children are not main characters per se, they are definitely in a lot of his videos. And this is kind of understandable in the sense of he uploads so much and they're homeschooling, so it's kind of impossible for the children not to be in the video at all. And I don't think this is bad per se, but he definitely crosses the line a lot, in my opinion. He shows very vulnerable moments of these kids' life on the internet to such an extent that it's really just inappropriate. That's what I want to talk about today. And please remember, just because something is said in a very wholesome setting does not mean that it's exempt from critique. In case you are not aware, Justin Rhodes is a very big channel within the homesteading niche. He lives with his wife Rebecca and their 5 children in Western North Carolina and has been posting consistently about this life since 2016, amassing over 1 million subscribers in the process. For most of this time, the format of the video has been the same, just sharing about what they're doing, about what they're learning on the homestead on a daily basis, and this obviously involves their children a lot. I first learned about them from the Great American Farm Tour that they did in 2017, and probably a lot of his viewers did too. Those videos were pretty interesting and great to see. As an aspiring homesteader at the time, it was interesting to see different people's places and what they were doing and how they were set up and how they made money, etc. That kind of thing. So those were really great video in my opinion. But you can't keep traveling forever. That year really put a toll on them, especially Rebecca and her health. So they went back to their homestead and started from scratch. They already had the farm, started back up and started doing their homestead thing again. And since then, they've just been sharing about what they're doing on that homestead. What they're really trying to do now, I think, is using their homestead as an example to teach people how to homestead. On the surface, that is great, but next to educational videos, he also posts a lot about their kids, and really to such an extent that I think it's inappropriate. I think for some people, oversharing really happens kind of accidentally, in the sense that they just start making videos and they don't really think about privacy at all. Once they realize that sharing the more intimate details about their life, and especially about their kids, gets the most views, they just keep doing that, even though it wasn't really the initial focus of their content. But it's good to clarify that this wasn't the case for Justin. He's always been an oversharer. One of the first videos on his channel back in 2016 had the title, "The Baby Has a Cold." A large part of that video is focused on the child and that he's sick and what they're doing about it. And the worst part of it all is that they're shoving a camera in his face while that baby is sick. And there's this really disturbing part of the video that I really can't stop thinking about. Rebecca is holding the baby and they're talking about the homeopathic remedies that they're gonna give the baby to alleviate some of his symptoms. If you have kids, you know it's kind of hard sometimes, especially when they're that age, like 3 or 4. It's kind of hard to give them the medicine that they need. But instead of putting the camera down and doing this properly, what Justin decides to do is keep the camera in one hand and try to clumsily get the medication into the mouth of this child, all while still recording.
What I do is we've got this homeopathic pain and fever oral relief that we're going to administer. He's not a big fan, but it's got to happen, buddy. It'll make you feel better, okay?
I think that the fever is making him feel really bad.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Come on, Mr. Brown. Good job, buddy.
It'll make you feel better.
You did good.
Why? Just why? Why did it not crush your mind to put down the camera and do this properly? Why is it so important to keep filming in that moment? And why does the audience need to see this? I have lots of questions, but I do know that the normal thing to do would have been to just put the camera down. Even then you could still be filming from a distance, but the normal thing would be to set the camera down and take care of your child who is sick. This is to say that he's clearly never had an issue with filming his children in a very vulnerable positions, and for some reason has always found it important that the world knows the intimate details of his kids' medical issues. I think the process really goes something like this. You don't think beforehand what's appropriate and what's not appropriate to share online. You just start sharing and things happen. The kids are a big part of your life, especially if you're homeschooling like the Rhodes do, and with how many kids they have. And kids are really part of this homeschool, homestead, home cooking type of image that they're trying to push. Life takes over, you get busy with your kids, and you really start to see that the content that's dramatic, the hard things that your kids are going through are very popular, or are people are very interested on clicking on those videos, and they do much better than just your normal mundane life. So you just keep sharing because it's what the people want to see, and it's how you financially support your family. So there's a pretty big incentive to keep going, and all that time you really never stop and think what is appropriate to share on the internet and what is not. So you just keep sharing, and you end up showing stuff that really should not be on the internet. So here's a non-exhaustive list of the inappropriate things that Justin has shared over the last few years. In 2021, Rebecca gave birth in a gas station, which isn't bad per se, life happens, but let me just show you the introduction of this video.
My wife gave birth right there.
You're giving birth?
In a gas station parking lot. Gave birth in the gas station. Obviously, that was not the plan.
What is this intro editing? Again, I don't think it's bad per se to post birth vlogs. I would never. Can you imagine being in labor and also having to think about filming and angles and all the stuff, basically working while you're giving birth? No, thank you. But other people feel differently, and to some extent, I was glad that there were these types of vlogs on the internet before I gave birth for the first time, just because it's a very good way to learn about what's coming. But I definitely think there's a respectful and a disrespectful way of doing this type of video. At first, it's obviously the parent in labor and they're the subject of the video, so you're only sharing your own experience. But at some point there's a baby. Who would have thought? And I personally just don't think it's alright to post footage of the very first moments of someone's life. Did happen in this case.
He's okay. He's okay, baby.
Oh,
He's
look at
crying.
that beautiful
Okay, we gave birth in the gas station. He's fine. He's
Shut
crying.
up, what?
I understand the filming to some extent. There are people who hire videographers to film their birth just to keep as a memory for themselves. And in a later vlog, Rebecca also shared that seeing the footage was really helpful for her to kind of process the birth, because it was such an unusual and stressful birth. So I understand that part, but they could have just kept that footage for themselves. There was really no need to post that. Your baby's still wet and you're already sharing their face online. How is that fair to the baby? The baby is a person, believe it or not. I'm really interested to see in the next few years if the babies whose births were posted on the internet, because they're definitely not the first people to do this, if they start coming out and sharing their stories and how it affected them in the long run. That's the very first seconds of their life were posted on the internet. Next up, Justin made a detailed series of his son's hip surgeries. So in 2022, their oldest son breaks his hip in a dirt bike accident. Instead of deciding to just take a few days off of filming and take care of their son in this really dramatic moment that just happened, Justin starts a series on the thing instead. Starting with a video on the accident.
Go ahead, man. There goes Jonah. At the end of our meeting with the home designer, Josiah comes in this door and says, Jonah's gotten into a dirt bike accident. You need to come.
He said, "Go get Mom and Papa. I think I broke something." I was feeling sad, and I hoped he wasn't too hurt.
We go to him, and clearly he's down, hurting. He's conscious, talking. We try out a few things, try to move the leg around, and then decide we should probably take it to urgent care, make sure there's nothing serious.
Again, sorry, what is this editing? This time he chose to make a more dramatic documentary style retelling of the accident, complete with reenactment, which is definitely a choice, but not even the worst of it. I won't be showing any of the other footage because I really deeply believe that this stuff should not be on the internet. He somehow decides that it's okay for him to keep filming while the nurses and doctors are working on his kid, like drawing blood and that kind of thing. And mind you, he keeps filming outside of the hospital, making it really super easy for everyone to learn exactly where they live. Finding their address, by the way, is really not that hard at all. So there is, in my opinion, really not any mindfulness at all around internet safety and privacy. It would be one thing if it was just them, but there's also kids there, so there really should be a lot more concern surrounding privacy. This is probably one of the scariest things that has happened in this child's life, and instead of putting the camera down and being there for your child in this very stressful moment, he just keeps on filming. And you have to remember, there are so many steps in this process too. Like, the accident happened, and it's almost a miracle that he didn't get the camera first and then go to his child to see what happened. But the accident happens, he keeps on filming while they're at the hospital. After it, he thinks about how he can make a thumbnail so that people will click on this video, and he thinks about how he can tell this story. He films this reenactment with some of his other children. The video is edited, I think, by someone else. He then reviews this video, and apparently during none of those moments he sat down to think what is appropriate and inappropriate to share for the world to see about this very stressful thing that his son is going through. It's not happening to him, it's happening to his child. How might this child feel once they're older and they realize this stuff is on the internet? How might he feel once he really understands the long-term ramifications of these things being online? None of that. This child is not old enough to understand really the long-term consequences of these types of videos. He just isn't. But he does know that his family makes money through posting videos online. So I can imagine, and I'm not saying he is, but I can imagine that he feels pressured to keep filming, or at the very least that he cannot say no, because then they won't have a video to post and then they will make less money. He's old enough to understand that part of the equation, and at the very least he has grown up in this situation, and he might just think it's normal when it really is not normal. And to be clear, I'm not trying to project my opinions about this onto the situation. Over these last few years, we've been in a moment where the now adult children of the very first family vloggers are starting to share their stories online, and a lot of it is not very good. I'm not saying the same level of abuse happens within Rhodes' home. I very much don't think so, or I very much don't hope so, but there are things that we can learn from what these kids, or now adult kids, are sharing. For example, in a interview surrounding the recent release on the Ruby Frankie documentary, her son Chad Frankie shared this.
Even if someone like fell and hit their head, or if I had a bad day at school, or the principal called me into his office, that's drama. That's pain, that's content. And I think she really knew that and fed off of it. So the camera would mostly come out when something entertaining was happening, or even if I was in pain or if I fell or, got in trouble, that was good content for her.
Yeah.
And I think in a way it was also very, very bad parenting not to set the camera aside and just focus on me.
Yeah.
So, in fact, I actually knew how much money they were making, and I was nervous about the money. And to know that the views were going to go down and that the sponsorships were going to go down, that was kind of my main focus was, oh no, we're going to lose money.
So what I'm learning from this clip is two things. Especially the teenagers in these families understand that this is how their family makes money, and they feel pressure whether that's intentional or not. They can worry about money that is providing them this lifestyle and that it might stop coming if they stop performing. The second thing I'm learning is that lines get crossed, intentional or not, because drama equals views and views equals money. With that in mind, I really don't think it's far-fetched to think that the Rhodes kids, especially the teenagers, feel like they cannot say no to being filmed, especially in these dramatic live events. To be clear, I don't know if they discuss this type of thing in their home, whether the kids have a say in what gets shared. But even so, I really do think that these kids cannot give informed consent about this level of oversharing of their lives. This accident leads to a whole string of medical issues, and Justin basically makes a whole series about the whole thing. And these videos definitely perform better than average, so there's an incentive for them to keep being made. The fact that these videos exist in the first place really bothers me, because I've said these kids cannot consent to this level of oversharing. And it's one thing to make videos about your own struggles with medical issues. That Justin definitely does a whole lot of that, but it's a whole other thing to decide to share these things about your child. The extreme amount of detail that he goes into with these videos is really just insane. He films talks with doctors, he films while they're getting a second opinion, he's filming as the kid gets prepped for surgery, he's filming as they're sitting in the waiting room being nervous, he's filming when this kid just gets out of surgery and can barely open his eyes yet. Really a level of intimacy and detail that is not okay to share. He also made a video about all the holistic remedies that they're putting this child through to help him heal. So not only is he promoting these very questionable health practices, they also show this child going through all these things and then posting them on the internet. Again, I'm just asking, why does the world need to see this? Why is it necessary to share in such detail? Did you even ask your child if he was okay with this level of detail being shared online? I understand quickly mentioning that they're going to the doctor again is clearly a very big thing that is happening in your life, but it's a whole other thing to shove a camera in your son's face when he's still trying to open his eyes from surgery. Again, there's a difference between sharing bits here and there about what's going on in your family. It's a whole different thing to decide to make these extra dramatic thumbnails and extra dramatic titles about this really stressful thing that your child is going through, making that the incentive for people to click on that video. That's really where the line is crossed between just sharing your life online and basically just exploiting your child's pain for views. You're making that the main attraction of the video. You're making that the reason why people click on the video. That makes it exploitation. You're using that pain for clicks and thus for money. One of his latest hits was a video that they made during Hurricane Helene. They were in an area that was very badly affected by this storm. They luckily didn't lose any family members except for the odd chicken, so they were all safe in the end. And in some ways it was a great video, and clearly a lot of people wanted to see this because there was kind of an information gap from the bigger media corporations. And a lot of people watched it because it got over 3 million views. Before I get to my main opinion about this video, and I know I said I wasn't going to question anyone's parenting, but there's a part in this video where their son is helping outside and there's already a bunch of flood water, and for some fucking reason this kid is not wearing any shoes or any boots. And I know they want to be alternative farm kids, but damn, floodwater can be very, very dangerous. There could be chemicals in there, there could be sharp objects in there. You really can't see. Please be the adult in the room. Tell your child to put on some boots, because a trip to the ER in that situation is just not something you want to do. Or maybe even can do. So that is one very big caveat I had to this whole ordeal. Anyway, moving on. In that video, they're very busy getting their animals to safety, trying to save things, getting swept away from the flood, etc. But there's this terrible moment when their daughter is crying, like really sobbing. She's very clearly very scared, and she should be, because it's a scary situation. And she's begging Justin to go do something about her horse. This horse is everything to her, and she's very clearly very worried about this horse. And instead of consoling her or like talking through about why the horse is safe where it is, whatever you want to do, instead of doing that, he's looking into the distance with the camera in his face and just kind of going, no, he'll be fine. So instead of putting the camera down and consoling your child, who is very clearly very distressed, you just kind of haphazardly decide that it's more important to keep filming and not be a parent in that situation. And what this shows to me is that this constant filming almost feels compulsive, and no matter what you're saying, you're just filming for the memories. It's not interfering with you being a good parent. It is just very clearly interfering with you being present in that moment. Your job as a parent in that situation is to take care of your child. They come first. And your job is not to keep filming because that's what the people want to see. No. She's clearly very stressed, and calming her down should be your main priority. And in my opinion, there's really no excuse for that type of behavior. The final thing I want to talk about in this video, one of the things that really rubbed me the wrong way and was kind of the inspiration to start this video in the first place, is sharing the last moments of Rebecca's mother's life. They keep calling her grandma, but if I understand correctly, it's Rebecca's mother. I understand that she was a regular in the video. I understand that people knew who she was and what she was going through, and so that you might want to share that the end is near and that she has passed away. I get saying something about it. What I don't understand, though, is this moment in one of those videos where he prompts the children to go up to grandma and tell her something that they will really miss about her. This is obviously a very sad moment in their life, and in my opinion, just very deeply personal. Yes, death is part of life and it shouldn't be taboo. But again, there is a difference between sharing a clip here and there about the last moments and that they're going to the funeral, etc. I understand all that. It's a whole different thing, though, to make a 3-part series about grandma passing away, about her final days, about the funeral, the whole thing. That's doing a 3-part series on that. It's just different. And people will really understand if you say, we're going to take a few days off because we're in the final stages of this life and we need to be there and we need to be present. And this is personal to us. And more important, it's personal to our children. And we want to process that as a family. There really is no reason to keep going and going and going, to keep posting, and worst of all, to film your children in such a sad moment and then choose to post that online. It's just wrong. So to wrap this video up, why is he even making all these videos? Why is he posting so damn much about his life and about his children? Personally, I think it's his form of ministry. There are different Christian denominations, and I'm not sure which one they are a part of, but there are certain denominations that really encourage people to make content as a way to promote a wholesome life and to kind of reel people into their religion, even though it's not set out explicitly as such. And that's, for example, why Mormons are so overrepresented within the content making sphere. There's a whole bunch of videos on that if you're interested. Go watch to understand why they do that. But I do know about the Rhodes is that they have been ministering for a long time and that they really see that as their calling. In the late 2000s, for example, they even had a ministry at their farm where they organized youth groups and camps and all that type of stuff where they did daily prayer and to kind of reel these essentially vulnerable children into their church. But that's a topic I won't get into today. And I think vlogging is really just a natural progression of wanting to share this lifestyle, because they definitely talk here and there about how they're shared to do this lifestyle because of their religion, even though it's not always explicitly expressed as such. Their children are very much a part of this homeschooling, homesteading picture that they're trying to present. So if you don't then just put on your thinking cap and think about what kind of things are okay to share on the internet, then, as I said, it very easily happens that you're just oversharing stuff that are not yours to overshare. But personally, I think that there's this very interesting extra layer with Justin specifically, because in my opinion, he just very much wants to be part of the cool guys group. His extreme fanboy behavior towards Joel Salatin. Joel Salatin is a whole other video that I'll make in the future. It's just extreme fanboy behavior. That's the only way I can describe it. There's an episode where he's listening to an audiobook of Elon Musk, and he really looks up to Mr. Beast and his crew, because there's this one video where he's really just in awe that he's in the presence of this guy who works for Mr. Beast when he's doing some more extreme outdoor challenges. And the way he's just so impressed by this guy really shows to me that he just is kind of that nerdy kid who really wants to be part of the cool boy, be around the cool boys. And daily vlogging, it's giving Casey Neistat of the homesteading niche. That's basically what it is. I don't like Casey Neistat either, but he really seems to have this really strong belief in the grind set mentality. Thus the glorification of Mr. Beast and Salatin and Elon Musk even. He is constantly working. This man cannot sit down. It's a constant go. 6 days a week, posting, have to work. For someone who's so obsessed with health, it apparently has never clicked to him that rest is very important in a healthy lifestyle. blows my mind. And apparently this work is so important and so constant that they've never had a moment to sit and think about the consequences of posting such incredibly personal stuff about their kids online. There are many other things I could say about Justin Rhodes. The thing that I really did want to say is, or kind of show in this video, is about his kids, because I really do think it's unfair to these kids, the level of oversharing that he does, and it's just not right. Plain and simple, it's just not right. So might make another one about him. He's definitely gonna be part of a video about the obsession with holistic medicine within the homesteading niche to such an extent that it's really unhealthy. I'm not against holistic health, but I think there are things that modern medicine can do that acupuncture just cannot. So yeah, watch out for that. If you found this interesting and helpful and you thought, yes, Leia, you're absolutely right, this is not okay. I talk about homestead influencers and content creators on this channel to try and give a different perspective, because it's a very one-sided niche. I know that. And I thought it was time to start talking about that. So if you like this, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment about what you think. What was another incredibly insensitive thing of him to share? Whatever you want, whatever you want to complain about, do it in the comments and I'll be there. Okay, see you in the next one.